Hello, my name is Jeremy Peterson with RE/MAX Results.
And I'm Troy Moldy with the Pride Group, and we are doing our monthly HUD outreach, and today's topic is going to be property condition. So we're just going to be at a HUD property and walk you through the home and look at some of the things that we look at that you want to think about when you're getting financing for a HUD property. So one thing that I do when I'm coming to a property is before I get here, I always print out the disclosure report, and as you can see here, there's a slight gas leak outside. Septic is non-compliant. There's just a whole list of things. The non-compliant septic could cause some issues for financing, so this would be something that you would definitely want to talk to your lender about before writing an offer, and make sure that the type of financing that you're planning on using will work, because HUD is not going to fix any of these problems prior to closing. So let's go ahead and take a walk around the property. The roof should be fine, it looks good, but that's one thing I always look at is, are the shingles curling? Does the roof look like it has at least 4 to 5 years left on it? So that's not flagged, and if it is flagged, that would be something that the buyer would have to assume or figure out with their financing. If I saw something like this, I would call my lender and maybe take a picture, and I would see it looks like dirt. I think that's probably all it is. It would probably scrub off with a little bit power spray or wash, but I would ask the lender, is this going to be an issue for lending? If the appraiser calls it potential mold, is that going to be an issue? Back here, I note that there's an addition. I would probably call the city and find out if there was any permits pulled, and if there were no permits pulled, does the city know about the addition? Because remember, when you buy this property, the buyer is assuming in its as-is condition. There will be no changes. HUD's not going to fix anything or change or accommodate that buyer. It is, as we say in golf, you got to play it how it lands, and you can't change it. So this would be something that I would notice and that I would be calling about. I guess while I'm on this topic, I would also ask the city if there's any past assessments, coming up assessments, and I would also ask the county that. And then we already know that this septic is non-compliant, but when I figure out there's a septic, I would ask the city if it is compliant or non-compliant. In this case, we already know. You can see here that we have the wall leaning maybe a tiny bit, so I might take a picture of this and ask the loan officer, what do you think? Is this going to be an issue? It looks pretty clean. I don't think it will, but I always like to ask them, because the last thing you want to do is go through a property, get all the way to the closing date, and then find out your financing won't work with the properties as is condition. I always like to look and see if there's any dead trees. You know, that would be an additional cost that a buyer would have to, and just make sure they're aware of it. So again, I just try to look at everything and point everything out, and maybe bring a piece of paper and take notes and go through all that with your lender to make sure that he understands the condition and that you both think that it's probably okay. Or if there's going to be issues with that financing, you may want to switch to 203K or find a portfolio in-house type loan. So come on in. So here we are inside. I don't see anything in this room that personally concerns me. Anytime you come into a HUD home, you always want to sign in, and for the purpose that you're there. So as I walk through, I just pay attention to any kind of conditions that could come up. And the reason we're making this video is a lot of deals fall apart because of property condition issues that people did not pay attention to when they were at the home. They didn't take any notice. The appraiser goes out to the home and he writes up these work orders. HUD's not going to let you fix them before closing, and it becomes a real issue. So you might as well address it before you write on the home. I don't think an appraiser is going to call out a hole in the wall, but it's something that I would pay attention to. I don't see anything in this room that concerns me.
Windows look good.
Always look in the closets. I don't see anything in this room that concerns me.
And also, there's usually no electricity on in these homes, so when you do look at the homes, make sure you bring a flashlight.
All right, let's go down to the basement. I don't know if we'll catch that on film, but this would be something that I would take some pictures of and just ask a lender about and see if he thinks that there'll be any issues with that. I don't know if we'll get any good pictures in there, but there's some debris and things down in there.
And some electrical may be loose.
Now, on this particular property, this one has a shared well, meaning that this house and this house share with this house, which has a master well. I would call the lender and ask, is that type of a situation going to pose a problem? And the issue with this home was that there was no shared well agreement. It was just a verbal. But that is definitely something I would ask your lender about, is this going to pose an issue with the shared well? So that's what's going on here. Furnace, I always look and just kind of see how does the furnace look. When you activate the utilities, you can get permission to turn it on, but the buyer will have to put it on in the buyer's name, and any costs that are attributed to activating that, the buyer does have to assume. So I'll just go ahead and recap. When you come to a property, really go through the property, look at it, think about things that, is the appraiser going to call these things out, whether you're using conventional, whether you're using FHA financing. If you use conventional and the water can't be turned on, for example, you better figure out how you're going to get financing under those circumstances, or talk to your lender, because HUD's not going to give you permission to fix it and turn it on. I see a lot of deals fall apart because of that, and it's all disclosed in here. So make sure that you go on HUD Home Store, print off the disclosure and the property condition report, so that you know what you're walking into, and that you can avoid a lot of costs that your buyer would have to pay, that the deal's going to fall apart from the get-go. That if you can solve these things and make sure that the buyer can get financing, you can successfully get to the closing table.
And the costs that Troy's talking about are home inspection, which ranges from $250 to $450, appraisal, which is $400 to $500. So right there, a buyer's spending $700 to $900, and if you can't get the home, buyer's not going to be very happy.
And all the trips that you've come out to the property. So that's it for this week. Jeremy, you got anything else you want to add?
That's basically it.
Property condition, probably our biggest issue why deals fall apart is property condition. So make sure you pay close attention, and we'll see you guys next month. Thanks for tuning in.